Hi everyone.
We're Mike and Heather. In this video, we'll share a bit of our story, how we got to this point of selling off everything in order to travel in our RV, and how COVID and lockdowns have, and still are, getting in our way.
Let's go. Last week, Ontario announced some heavier lockdowns with COVID restrictions, including restricting travel across the provincial borders with Manitoba and Quebec.
We're really hoping that this helps the problem in Ontario to get back under control, but as it has been for the last year, things are really unpredictable and out of control.
We have plans to begin our adventure out of Edmonton on June the 14th, heading to Saskatchewan, then Manitoba, then Ontario. We're getting nervous that maybe all our plans will have to be rearranged.
We already have camping reservations made in these provinces.
Right now we're going to bide our time and see if things are open by the 14th of June, which is our launch date.
If not, we're also trying to formulate a backup plan. There are many places in Alberta we can still camp. We love the mountains. And it's a lucky bonus that we're living in a province with such beautiful scenery.
Yes. We'd also like to do more boondocking. Alberta has quite a few public land utilization zones where boondocking is allowed. We camped at two of them last year, Preacher's Point and Brazeau Dam, and we would be interested in finding more of those spots. We've now got our solar panel and charge controller hooked up so we could recharge our battery during the day, and last summer we even tested how long we could last with our fresh water.
We filled the water tank and practiced careful water use, and we were still okay after 5 days. So we think we could go at least a week, maybe 10 days, before needing to dump the black and gray tanks.
I think we could. We did fill up bottles with fresh water during that time to augment the water in the freshwater tank. But, you know, that was easy enough to do.
Honestly, it's usually the gray water tank that fills the fastest. And we found a few ways to slow that down too. Boondocking is a bit of a scientific adventure in that regard.
We are hoping, fingers crossed, toes crossed, knock on wood, that we can travel as planned across the country. But having a potential backup plan right now seems like a good idea, just in case.
If the borders are still closed by mid-June, we're hopeful that they will reopen before the end of August and we could still head across to Ontario at that point. We haven't seen our family in a year and a half, and are anxious to spend some time with them.
Yeah. We've loved the time we've spent here in Edmonton with our daughter Pamela and our grandson David. But we do feel the pull to move on and start this new chapter in our own lives. We'll miss them, but we look forward to lots of visits in the future.
We started planning a vagabond lifestyle about 15 years ago. Originally, we figured we'd rent a furnished apartment in different places around North America, probably even around the world, for 3 to 6 months at a time, then move on to a new location as the desire hit us. But then we started talking about tiny homes. They weren't good though for lots of traveling. And that led us to the RV lifestyle, a portable home on wheels.
When we sold our sticks and bricks home, we initially moved into my mom's house to help her out with some repairs and maintenance to her home for 9 months.
At that point in time, we loaded up our minivan and our pop-up trailer for a 7-week journey across the US and then up into Canada to our daughter's home in Edmonton, Alberta. We intended to stay there about a year or so.
Our 7-week pop-up camper adventure was a whole other story in itself.
In March 2020, COVID hit the world with a vengeance, and here in Canada, as in many other places, everything shut down for a while to help curtail the spread.
The week that all this began was the week we happened to go out looking at a truck. We knew that we had to replace our minivan with a truck if we were going to pull a larger RV. We'd been keeping our eyes out for anything that might work for us.
We went to the large RV show in Edmonton in February, and it pretty much narrowed down what we were looking for in a trailer, so we knew what size truck we needed.
When we saw 2 potential options at a local dealer, we went to have a look.
The dealer broke out the big guns and pulled out a beautiful Silverado that had just been brought in. It hadn't even been cleaned yet. It was the perfect price, it was the right truck for us, so the next thing we knew, we had traded in our van and we were owners of a Chevy Silverado.
Once we had the truck, we were excited about choosing a trailer. We'd sold the pop-up camper that we had enjoyed for the last 20 years. Yes, I said 20 years. It was a bittersweet day as the new owner drove off with our pop-up that had so many good memories attached to it for us.
After looking at many campers at the RV show and online, we knew the features that we were looking for. While perusing the myriad of options online, we found that the Imagine XLS 22 MLE It was really just what we were looking for.
There weren't any of them in Edmonton, so we started researching who had them, how much they were going for, and we contacted a dealer in Saskatchewan who offered us a spectacular price and said that they would hold the RV on their lot for us until June the 1st.
Well, this was all happening in April. We now had the essentials to live out our dream.
Sadly, COVID did not get stopped in its tracks as we had hoped it would, and we saw more places shut down and numbers going up everywhere in the world.
As June rolled around, we prepared to pick up our camper, but we were running into some troubles as COVID had stopped all out-of-province camping. What were we going to do?
We were in Alberta, and our new RV was in Saskatchewan, a 9-hour drive from Edmonton. And then there was another 5 hours to cross back over from Saskatchewan to the Alberta border again. Too long of a trip to accomplish in just one day.
Luckily, our dealer, Menards, knowing our dilemma, offered to let us camp in the new RV in their parking lot for one night.
Shout out to Menards, who treated us well in so many ways.
They helped us make our first travel trailer purchase during the pandemic into a wonderful experience.
After picking up the Imagine trailer, we drove the 5 hours back to Alberta and took 2 weeks to slowly travel back up to Edmonton.
We had a great vacation and followed it up with many more trips throughout the summer.
We were planning to hit the road full-time in October of 2020, but COVID once again delayed that plan.
Although disappointed at the setback, we were thrilled to be able to spend more time with Pamela and David, whom we helped to school over the course of the year.
David, not Pamela.
David, not Pamela. As you can see, it has been a long time coming to this point of living out our traveling dreams, and we don't want to have to delay it anymore.
June 14th is fast approaching. Cross your fingers and toes, knock on wood, and say some prayers that all goes as we've planned. Either way, our adventure will begin in one province or another.
We love you all, and thank you for your support in our new YouTube channel endeavor.
For those of you we haven't met in person yet, we look forward to crossing paths and sharing some new adventures.
Looking forward to seeing you on the road. Check out some of our other videos and subscribe to our channel.
New content will be posted weekly.